welcome to this week's episode of Team MBS Draft Central. Of course, Jeff Barnes and Greg Rector in the house, ready to go on time as usual. Greg, we're going to talk some DTs and guards today. We got special guests in the house coming up a little later in the show. So let's talk about the draft so far. We know where we're at now. All 32 teams have their picks.
They all have a first round pick.
Yes.
How long that lasts is yet to be seen, right?
Yeah. Well, I don't see too many people giving up their first four quarterback this offseason. I don't know about you, but after what we've seen the last couple of years, I don't see that happening. No. So, nevertheless, right? We're going to talk about this ad nauseum, but okay, we're talking two important positions tonight.
Yep.
If you watched the Super Bowl, congrats to the Eagles. These two positions were key in the Super Bowl.
Yes,
right?
They were.
Right. So if you have guards, you can protect the inside of your pocket. If you have really good D tackles, you can help rush with four because they can collapse the pocket from the inside and help your edge rushers out. We saw how that affected Kansas City.
Yep.
We saw how Philadelphia's defensive line, how strong they are up the middle.
We saw a regular guard being moved out to tackle, and he got destroyed. So
and then that's shame on them for not. They stopped investing in their O-line. We saw that they let Orlando Brown walk after they won that Super Bowl, right? They didn't want to pay him, right?
They did spend money after that first defeat, but again, they stopped.
Yeah,
right.
They should have kept Brown. You could have built another tackle with him.
They should have also drafted another offensive tackle.
They should have done that last year. Were in position. They were in position to do it too.
Yep. And we saw the number of offensive tackles taken last year. There was plenty to be had. Even if it was just a project. I mean, you got to have somebody there.
Absolutely.
And I wasn't too far off on my score. I had it 42-31 was my predicted score, and it was 40-22. I mean, not too far off. But I knew the Eagles were going to beat up on this Chiefs team. I just knew it.
I expected a little more out of the Chiefs. I really, and I know this is this is a draft show. We're going to get into that in a second, but when I watched that game, to me, it was an absolute atrocious gameplay. They run the ball twice in the first half.
Horrible.
Twice.
Yeah.
You knew you had to slow down that rush. You couldn't just go out there and let Mahomes be Mahomes. You knew you had to slow down their pass rush.
Yeah.
And you let them tee off on your quarterback because you even threaten to run the ball.
And you've got Kareem Hunt and Isaiah Pacheco back there. Hello, you've got two good running backs, and you give the ball up twice to the running back? That was just ridiculous. I mean, 23 yards of offense in the first half, and that was the ball game. That was it.
Absolutely. It was insane. I didn't expect the beatdown that it was for three quarters. I didn't. Not from what I saw from Kansas.
And everybody can say what they want about that nice bomb pass to Worthy and all that. That was against the second string guys.
It was. Yes.
I mean, that was just a practice completion at that point.
Indeed. So, without further ado, let's start on the D tackle rankings. Let's do our top fives. You're here. Let's start with yours. So, Greg, I'm going to throw up your top five, and you go ahead and break that down for us.
Okay. So Joe is probably not around, but I do have that guy from that school up north as my number one DT. I have Walter Nolan. He's an odd character because of his actual ability versus his size and all this other jazz. He's an odd character. Then I have another guy from that school up north, Kenneth Grant, TJ Sanders, and then Derek Harmon is my fifth DT. That's pretty much why I've got these guys ranked where I do currently. So there are two Wolverines in my top five. Enjoy that very fact, Joe.
Well, while he's not here, I do have Bill's top 5, so I'm going to throw his up. So Bill also has Graham 1. He has Kenneth Grant 2nd. Forget the typo. Walter Nolan, Omar Norman a lot, who I also like as well in my top 5. Darius Alexander from Toledo makes his top 5.
Yeah.
As for me, okay, I too have Nolan at the top of. I have Nolan at the top, not Graham. Sorry, but you have. I do have Mason Graham. TJ Sanders is my 3.
Yeah.
I love the active hands, active movement upfield. All of these teams that love that play to run to the quarterback are going to love guys like TJ Sanders. So that's why he made it so high on mine. I like Norman because of the size and strength ability. Gets stuck a little at times on certain blocks, but for the most part, it's the power to play out of it. Omar Norman a lot. Another one of those guys that plays an active hand, does a lot of things, shows the strength of ripping off of blocks. He has the upper body strength to fight off of blocks. I love that in him. It's one of the reasons why he made my top 5. But yes, you notice the other Michigan DT did not make my top 5.
No, he did not.
And the reason being is I see him getting stuck on the blocks inside a lot on pass. And I think they're going to pigeonhole him into a 1. I think that's going to be the problem for him. He's going to get pigeonholed into that. You're going to be a nose, and you're going to play minimal downs because we're going to get that extra pass rusher out there. So he's going to get pulled off a lot. I think that's going to drop him because of that. The value. You look at the other guys on that. Those are guys that are rushing the passer as well as playing the run. All right. So I think when you look at it now, the way with these sub packages, these teams are playing with active D tackles. So when it comes to guys like him, I think that's where it falls. Kenneth falls. Kenneth Grant kind of falls a bit because, while we may love him on the media side, they may not love him as much in the draft room. So,
that's true. Although I do see him go in some of these mocks. I see him getting picked even before Mason Graham has been.
And they're very similar. I think Graham's a little better athlete when you look at it, but I think they're very similar. They're 2 really big bodies. Right? They use a lot of power and not a lot of finesse, right? So I think that's the way you look at it and go, well, either one of these guys could be 1 techniques, the way they're built, the way they play. So you really had 2 1s out there, which is why they were pretty tough against the run. However, they weren't exactly great at collapsing the pocket from inside consistently. And that's one of the things that you look at and go, okay, they had to blitz. They had to do all that stuff.
That's right. Yep. And then the other guy I want to mention is Derek Harmon's line mate, the former University of Houston Cougar, Jamari Caldwell. I mean, that guy is tough. He is tough. He's only 6'1", so his arms are considered to be short and all this other jazz. But I really like the way that Caldwell. He has great power. Active hands again at the point of attack. He's got a low center of gravity. He's got character and a real solid work ethic. My concern with him would be his ability to pressure the QB, though, right?
That's going to be the common theme we talk about, right?
And handling dual blocks. He's better at the dual block, but again, you don't see a lot of dual blocking coming at you in the college level. You don't really see a
No, that's more of an NFL thing. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So but it's a concern because again, you've got to be able to handle a guard and a center, and
they see the combo blocks because they see the inside zone runs, which is very similar kind of block, right? So the difference between duo and that is that duo is designed to have those tight ends there to account for guys on the end,
exactly.
Right? As opposed to zone where you kind of leave one of those guys
open
and pull it away. Yeah. So I think that's but it's the same kind of concept. You're still getting double teams on the inside. You're getting combos to the second level. So that's definitely something we look at and say, that's there. Let's talk about some of the guys that didn't make our top 5, right? Ohio State, Jalen Williams didn't make our top 5s. 3 top 5s he missed out on. What do you think of Tyleek?
I like Tyreek Williams, but again, I don't see him being as good as the 5 that I've got listed. He's number 7 on my list currently. Where do you have him?
Similar. He's in that bottom part of the top 10.
Yeah.
And the reason being, we talk about it. This is going to be a common theme with those bigger body guys: is do they get off of blocks well enough in the pass rush to be out there for 3 downs? That's one of the things you're seeing now is because they're in sub packages, they may throw you out there on first down, but they may pull you off on second, they may pull you off on third. You know, depends on the flow of the offense. If they're passing heavy, you're only going to get a certain amount of reps out there because they're going to keep the pass rushers on the field. And they'll risk running the football until that team threatens them with the run enough that they got to put your butt out there.
That's right.
I think that's what we're seeing now is the fluidity of the defensive line play at the NFL level, where at the college level, you can have that true one technique out there all the time.
Right.
You know, teams are running a lot more RPO. Teams are running a lot more screen and doing all that stuff where as long as you're clogging up the run lanes on first and second down, they don't trust those teams can convert 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9.
Right. Exactly.
Right? So they're going to make you challenge them. At the NFL level, we've seen it. Okay.
Yeah.
They'll pull you off after one play because they want to get that pass rusher out there.
Yeah.
Right. So because 2nd and 9, great. Let's get a pass rusher out there because if they're throwing a ball here, we want to affect the throw, keep it at 3rd and 9. We don't want these guys going out there completing a 5-yard pass that turns into a 7-yard pass. They're 2 yards shy of a first down, 1 yard shy of a first down on 3rd down. And it's manageable, and they're keeping this drive rolling. Teams are doing everything they can now to maximize their pass rush on those downs to match these offenses. So you're starting to see some of these guys, if they're showing that they're not get out there. And one of the guys a couple of years ago, I liked a lot coming out of Oregon. So that's why I was looking at the big Oregon D tackle and going, man, I like him a lot. But the last time we had a big D tackle coming out of Oregon, I liked him a lot. Thought he would have been a great – was Ika, right? I thought he would have been a great guy in addition to a certain team as a one tech. Hasn't done anything in the NFL. And it's because, one, he's not exactly great at pass rushing. Yes, he could push a guard and tackle back, but NFL linemen anchor differently from college linemen.
Exactly.
Yeah, so it's a different kind of pass rush when you get to that next level. So he just never figured that part out. And we've seen it with other guys. Danny Shelton was another one who just couldn't figure that part out.
Yeah,
right? So,
exactly.
You know, we've seen that. We've seen that with a lot of guys now.
Deontay Walker. Let's go to Walker.
Yes, the low-hanging fruit, right? You know,
everybody talks about him.
Well, he's top 5 on a lot of guys' boards. He's not on ours, and we saw it at the Senior Bowl. It's an unnatural thing to be a 6'7" D tackle. There's a reason why there's not too many of them, right? And it's just because you're naturally going to be higher than 90% of the guys that you're going to face. Your center of gravity has to be lower, and if you can't maintain it, then it's just going to be one of those things you're going to have struggles in certain situations. While you love the size inside, it's great to help against RPO with the big frame and all of that. But when they're running at them and they're comboing them and they're getting movement, right? And even though he's 6'7" and he may be able to reach out and get a piece of the runner going by, you're getting comboed to the second level. That linebacker is also not seeing where the ball is, right? Because he's got 3 bodies that he can't see. So there's things he has to clean up.
Yeah.
He's got to learn.
Which he did on the second day of the practice. He did better. And in the game, he had some good and bad moments, right? Yeah. So, but the thing about it is you want to see a consistency from him. And it's just he's got to learn to play at that height at the next level. And he has to
be bigger and stronger than the guy in front of you.
Bend those knees. He's got to bend the knees. That's the bottom line. Because of day 1, he had no knee bend at all.
No.
Day 2, he's got a knee bend. Thank you. But again, I mean, that's not easy for the old tackles who are 6'8" either. I mean, that's
one of the knocks we always have on him, right? Sometimes you get a little too big for the position. That guy is always going to have the ability to rush you down the middle and have leverage because he's naturally lower.
Oh, exactly. Yeah.
So that's always one of the things we talk about. There was somebody else I'm missing here, and I'm gonna go to my notes. Alfred Collins, Texas.
Alfred Collins. I'm okay with Collins, but he's he's my 10th guy. Yeah, he's done at number 10 for me. And the thing the reason why I didn't put Norman Lott on there is because of the rotation that he was always in. He was used way too much in a rotation basis. I didn't see enough of him to be able to rate him as a top 5 DT. Now, did he perform well at the Bulls? Yeah, but again, it reminds me of the Davis and Carter situation with Philadelphia. Oh, they got improvement, but it was in year 2. So again, this is a position that is definitely a 3-year position for guys. Please do not go ape because your DT doesn't attack the line properly, unless of course you're the Cowboys and you know it's Mozzie Smith who never finished a damn play. But yes, he's a first-round DT for you. Then you can complain.
Man, we're gonna get you a value when we start thinking of the star, okay? So you can calm down a little. Yeah. See, with Collins, bigger body, right? Now he's not as big as he's not 6'7". He's listed at 6'5". He's more in the 6'4" range, 6'4" and change range, but big body. Pad level can be inconsistent at times,
right?
But most importantly, he hasn't put together that repertoire. We talk about it, right? We talk about violent hands inside when getting off of blocks, getting and attacking the quarterback. He's a hard charger, right? So if he doesn't beat you on that angle through the gap, he gets stuck and he may push you back, but he never disengages, right? So that's where I see the problems for him. You can't do that at the next level. We've seen. Just look at some of the quarterbacks we've seen now at the NFL level who you go, he's not the most mobile guy, but yet he breaks the pocket, he buys time, he throws the ball down the field, or he runs through yards for a first down. And you go, why is he doing this? He's not the most mobile guy. But if you're out of your lanes, if you're getting out of your lanes or you're rushing to pass the quarterback and not disengaging, you're staying blocked, which gives him an out, right? You can't recover. He can escape, all right? So with him, I see that at times, right? Texas, we know Texas's front is aggressive. They attack. And he attacks.
Yeah.
But when he doesn't disengage, when he can't beat it off, get off the block immediately, right? He'll take the blocker with him.
Yeah.
And it means great. The blocker's going with you, but there's also no you there. So there's now a hole in the fence that you left, right? So for the guy to sneak through. So I think that's where you look at him and go, okay, well, you want to see hand play. You want to see disengaging. You want to see you club and rip and do all the different things that you do to disengage a block to be able to make an impact on the play. Not just blow it up with your penetration, but getting off the block to finish, right? That's one of the things you want to start to see from guys. If you're talking about next level players, it's finishing. And some of these guys, that's one of the issues. They're inconsistent finishers, right? They may get a little bit of a
pressure. Here's a guy who isn't inconsistent, but he played for a very bad team last year. Joshua Farmer at Florida State.
Yeah.
He has been consistent.
That is.
Yeah. So just because he was on Florida State, don't discount this guy. He's 6'3", 318. He got excuse me here. Let's see. He had 32 stops, adding 8 tackles per loss and 4 sacks in 12 games. So he did pretty well.
I don't see him, and I guess we really should have talked about him last week because you're a Golden Domer. Howard Cross the third.
Yeah.
All right. So I really see him winding up with a team that like Pittsburgh. It's an odd front, but he's going to be that 5 tech. That reduces on pass downs to a 3 tech, right? Because of his size. He's not a 1,
Nope.
He's 6 foot. He's 6'1".
He's not even going to be a 3.
Yeah, and you can play him at 3.
Yeah,
but do you want to consistently beat him up at a 3? No, you're going to probably play him in an odd front as
a 5 tech,
and then move him inside where you want to reduce and walk those rush backers up. I think that's where he's going to fit in.
Yeah, the other guy is, of course, Mr. Mills, which is he's bigger. He could be a 3 tech. Again, he's going to be a later round draft pick, however.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So once again, you're watching us here at Team MBS Media on Team MBS Draft Central. Jeff Barnes, Greg Rector in the house. We also have a guest coming on in a few moments, Jalen Williams, D tackle from Southern Miss. So yes, our second Southern Miss player in a row. So we're going to have him on in a few minutes as we're talking about the interior line, defensive line position. So, Greg, we've done our top 5s, deep dived into the position. Realistically, there's a few more guys out there. JJ Pegues is a guy I like. Ole Miss. Now, we were talking Ole Miss earlier, right? We talked about Nolan, his teammate. I like Pegues, especially when you saw him at the Shrine. Very impressive showing out there in Dallas. I think he's a guy that when you look at him, once again, not the hugest body type, he is listed at 325, list 6'2", but what you look at is the movement skills. Once again, you're talking about violent hands and ability to move and get movement. I think he does that. Now, he's a guy at times when he tries to hold up at the point without penetrating, can get engulfed by 2 blockers and moved. But he showed very well at the Shrine. I don't think that's going to be a consistent thing at the next level for a while. I think he's a guy that has to develop a little bit more.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. There's also CJ West, who played very well for Indiana.
Absolutely.
Yeah. He's going to be a guy who can basically go after one gap, though. He's only a one gap player as far as I'm concerned, but he's very good when he does go after that one gap.
Indeed. Yeah. I think he's going to be a guy day 3 we're going to see hanging around the board. Some team's going to pick him up. He's a good rotational piece. And I think people undervalue rotation, right? Oh, what do you mean rotational player? If you're a defensive team and you want to be good, it can't just be 4 guys. You have to have 6 really quality guys, 7.
Now, in this league, now you have to have that many players.
Because you got to rotate them because they're going to get banged up. They're banged up. They're less productive, right? So you need to be able to rotate them in and have guys that are in that rotation that are just as capable as the guys you're subbing out. You can't have a huge fall off, right? No. So I think that's why people, when they say rotational, some guys get upset and they go, "Oh man, what? I want to be out there 3 downs at a time." But very few guys on the D line get that. They want to be able to make you last 17 games and be productive for 17 games, and they want to keep you fresh, right? Yep. So I think that's the thing. You don't when you're a rotational guy, you may not be out there in the first group, or you may be in the first group. But at some point, it's going to be a cycling in. You're in this group. You're out this series. You're in this series. Right. Okay. There's been a couple of plays in this series. Let's sub those guys out, get them fresh, put them right back in. Right. So they got to understand the rotation is part of the norm now. It's not the exception to the rule.
Why do you think offenses go to a tempo offense? Because they've got a weakness, and you're not going to be able to substitute in and out.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Well, geez. Maybe if you'd had the opportunity to leave the field and your opponent and your opposite number comes in, you'd be in better shape. But again, that's how the NFL. That's how you're going to get beat.
Absolutely. So we have a guest waiting, so we're going to get him on right now. For those familiar with Southern Miss football, we've had a couple of players on, defensive players. Last week it was his teammate Ryan Johnson, edge rusher. So now we're going to move further inside. We're going to bring on Jalen Williams. Jalen, welcome to the show.
Hey, how y'all doing?
Not bad in yourself.
I'm doing good. I'm disappointed y'all ain't have me in y'all top 5. I'm not gonna lie.
Don't be too disappointed, because you can make us look bad by going out there and looking good in your workouts.
I got you.
Bill, welcome to the show.
Oh, it's a pleasure.
So, Jalen, what we're going to do is, like I said, with our interviews, as always, we're going to make it about you. We're going to talk some football with you. We're going to make it's all about football, highlight your ability, your history, and your knowledge of the game. So I'm going to let Greg kick off the first set of questions.
Yes, sir.
Oh, yeah, he's calling me that 3-letter word. I don't know. You know what people have to do for me when they call me a sir? I was not a sir in the United States Marine Corps. I worked for a living, but that's all right. You're a good young man. I won't have you do the push-ups just yet.
I appreciate it.
There you go. So do you prefer going up the 3 gap or the 1?
Really, I don't matter. As long as I'm playing, I don't care where I'm playing it.
As long as you're playing, yep.
Yes, sir. Pretty much.
Okay. All right. Tell me about the toughest guard you had to play against this year.
Yeah, I already know who it is. Claywell from Jacksonville. It's just like watching film, I was like, he don't seem that good, but just actually playing with him, he just had like real strong hands. And he just like real good technique. So as soon as he got his hands on you, he wasn't going nowhere. Right. So basically the whole game, you hand fight. You trying to keep his hands off, but getting your hands on at the same time. It's just a lot in the middle of like 2 or 3 seconds just doing all that.
Yeah. Not an easy task to disengage, is he?
Oh, no, not at all. You sure he got super glue on his hand.
I kind of noticed that in that particular game. I'm actually glad you mentioned the guy because I saw that game and yeah, it was a tough day. That's for sure.
That game, I'm not gonna lie.
Yep. Go ahead, Mr. Bill.
Well, first of all, thank you for being with us. Whenever someone has junior college in their background, that tells me 2 things. And I mentioned earlier that there's something about that special hunger, and sometimes it's a literal hunger that you have when you come from junior college. You know exactly what I'm talking about, Mr. Williams. I know.
Oh, yes, sir.
I've had many a guy explain how they've had to, buy a big thing of like sandwich meat and bread for some of those lean times in their days in junior college. Tell people about what led you to Jones Junior College and what your junior college experience was like.
Really what led me to it was I really was unknown in high school. Like, despite having good film, my school was so small that I never really got out. So, like, when I were able to talk to somebody, with just junior college, like, coaches coming in being like, where you come from? Like, who are you? Like, people don't even know you exist. I'm like, well, dang. So I was basically just doing that. And while I did have, like, a Colorado offer, like, 1 week before signing day, it was like, I really wasn't messing with it. So I took my chances in JUCO. And once I got there, like you said, it wasn't just the easiest thing in the world. It got rough at times, but like when you lean on the right people and have the right people around you, you can make it and really thrive more than just make it.
So once you hit the ground, because junior college is different from both being at a 4-year and being in high school, because there's some guys who are 21, 22 years old. They're drop downs. They're guys who maybe play the D1 level. There's guys who come straight out of high school. There's guys that would go from one junior college to another junior college. There's guys who are coming up from Division III or Division II, guys coming down from Division I or coming from FCS. What did you notice about the diversity and types of guys you're playing against in terms of background, football ability, and then just personalities, mixes that you found when you got there?
It's just literally like the most random like assortment of people you could think of. Like you could have some dude from California, and next to you would get a dude that grew up 10 minutes from where you stayed at. So like you never really know like who you playing against, who you playing with, like, and what to expect from their background and everything. Like you could literally have like anybody you could think of, and they played JUCO at some point.
Yep. And this is a similar question to what you were asked by Greg. So who are some of the guys that impressed you, whether it be in practice or in games, that you got a chance to line up against while you were at Jones Junior College?
It's been so long since I was at Jones. I gotta think back. Y'all got me feeling old.
Oh no, I'm old. Okay, I am old.
Off the top of my head, someone I played with is easy LaDainian Webb. Like just watching him play, he like a Madden player just in real life, just doing whatever. And you would just sit there and be amazed at stuff that he do, and he don't even think nothing of it.
Okay. And tell me about the coaching staff. You took, as you said, you were an unknown quantity in high school. You were an athletic guy, a big guy, but nobody seemed to know who you were or what you could do. You took a big jump forward in terms of skill level and production while you were in junior college, from the time you arrived to the time you left. How did you reshape yourself as a player, both physically, even though you didn't have the greatest facilities in the world, and then mentally? What helped? Who coached you, and what did they change for you?
I say one of the main people doing it was Coach Drake, my D-line coach. Because like when he coaches you, you really like his son. Like he gonna hype you up, he gonna get on you just like you his actual son. And like no matter what, good or bad, he gonna always make sure like he there for you. And like even when I first started off, I struggled real like hard, going from having to just plan to having to learn actual technique and doing stuff. But he like just sat me down and be like, it's okay, like don't panic. You got the potential, I know you do. So I just kept at it. And like step by step, I saw myself getting better. Man, each step he was there, like supporting me and showing me like, I told you could do it.
Okay. And you're like 6'3.5" now? Is that what you measured in at?
6'3". I wanted that to have, but I'm not gonna lie. Give people hope.
Okay. I get it. We all want everything we can get. And where are you now with your weight? And where do you want to be?
I weigh at 307. For pro day, I'm gonna be like around at 305. So I'm basically good where I'm at right now. I'm just focused on dropping more body fat than anything.
Got it. And do you have a nutritionist, or who are you working with to reshape your body?
Yeah, my trainer Johnny, he has a nutritionist. My bad. Named Noelle that I'm working with him. She's just real cool.
Okay, and I'm gonna let someone else ask a question in a second. So I'm gonna, when you got re-recruited, right? Now you're leaving junior college. How did that process work out, and what helped you to make your decision going forward? And then obviously you had to make another decision later, but your first decision coming out of junior college, who was on you, and how did you decide to eventually find your way to Arkansas?
It was kind of crazy, like compared to my first recruiting, like ordeal, because I went from nobody wanting to even like look at me to people calling me every day, and I got real like I'm like, bro, like I appreciate the attention, but please leave me alone. So it was just a big adjustment for me to get to. So I just had to take it up with my family and my coaches and just talking about who they saw fit best, and it was just a lot. But like I said, my coaches and my family helped me out the most.
And what made Arkansas stand out amongst those? As you said, you went from being, it's what's the line from the song? First nobody wanted me, now I'm hot, they're all on me. Yes. Right. Now you're hot and they're all on you. So once that happened, once you had that heat, how did you sift through those opportunities?
It was mainly Coach Drake, my D-line coach, because like one of the reasons I chose Arkansas was because Coach LeBlanc, the coach that was there when I signed, he was like, Coach Drake learned from him. So he told me, hey, you best going to learn the same technique you learned here with the person that I know is a good person. And I was like, okay. So compared to everyone else, when I would have had to start over pretty much, it would have been a lot easier just going to somebody where I already got a foothold in something.
Got it. And you mentioned the adjustment, right? High school to junior college. how did that compare to make the adjustment from junior college to Arkansas, which is a blue blood program, maybe not in the top tier right now, but has in its past, I don't know if they told you about the history of the program and Frank Broyles and stuff like that, but at one point, this was one of the blue blood programs in America. And though it may not be quite there now, they have that in their history.
Yes, sir. It was kind of, I want to say it was kind of like an eye-opener because he went from kind of junior college to SEC level. It's definitely going to be like, whoa, like I get all this to me. So it was definitely like, I didn't really struggle with the adjustment, but it was like I kind of just had to slow myself down and be like, okay, it's a lot. You gotta chill though, relax, like, and just get your bearings on everything. You wanted to go crazy. So it was kind of weird, but I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. You were probably about to finish saying what I was gonna ask anyway. Keep going.
I said it was kind of weird, but like as time went on, I adjusted fine.
What was the biggest difference in your mind from where you played before to a place like going to Arkansas?
I'll say it was really two big differences. One of them being the distance, because I went from being like an hour away from home to 8.5 hours. And while that didn't really bother me, it was just like my sign to be like, okay, you really gotta be on your own now. So you really gotta lock in. And the second one would be I would say like just facilities. Because like, going from JUCO to SEC, it's definitely like I got lost in the facility a couple times. Like the first workout I was late to because I got lost in the facility.
Yeah, Fayetteville has some pretty decent facilities.
Yeah. Yes, no more having to hide lunch meat in your room. You don't worry about that. And I'll just ask my final question regarding your time at Arkansas, and then we'll talk about your final destination. Once again, who are some of the most impressive players you played with or against in your time at Arkansas?
Definitely some of the main ones I played with were Traylon Burks, the wide receiver. Like he was just like a freak of nature. I just remember watching him practice. I'm just like, even playing, I'm just like, dang. And Jonathan Ridgeway, the D-tackle that transferred in from, I think,
Illinois State.
Yeah, that's where it was. Just him coming in, just the way he played, and just he played like a crazy man. I guess that's the only way I can explain it.
That would be correct. The term in my scouting report, I wrote berserker, but yes. Crazy man work.
I say those were the main two that really just caught my eye while I was there.
Gotcha. I don't want to monopolize entirely. I'm sure someone else will have some questions they'd like.
Well, you know me, I always come out of the bullpen. So,
Yes.
So, you having fun? Because we're going to have some more fun in a minute. All right. So, let's talk football. All right. One of the things that's going to be expected of you the next level is the ability to handle the double team. Everybody's going to see it. You see it a lot in college because of zone, but you're going to see it on zone. You're going to see it on duo runs. You're going to see it on just individual adjustments at the line of scrimmage where you just may be the gap defender on that run and they call a one-name call just to get you. Walk me through how you have defeated the double team in the past.
I probably take on more double team than single block, so I can tell you this easy. So the main way to beat a double team is knock back on the person you lined up on. So you really gotta literally act like the other person ain't there and just strike the person you want. Strike him and knock him back, and stay in low and keeping your feet moving, staying locked out and low and keeping your feet moving. Because if you knock him back, the guard trying to knock you off, like he can't really get your hip because the guard and the other person are on two different levels. If you get what I'm saying, I'm probably explaining it kind of.
Absolutely, I get it.
Right, you destroy the timing and the planes in which they'd like to attack you. Yes,
yeah,
right.
You said a lot fancy. I ain't gonna
So, absolutely, I know exactly what you mean because there were different methods we used to teach in the past. One was you fight to get your hip in the hole, right? You want to fight to contain your gap. The other one now is forget doing all that. Beat the block and make a play. So, right. which is exactly what most people want to do now. Everybody wants to play fast, right? Everybody wants to get into the backfield.
Yes, sir.
Tell me how you read the set of the guard, whether it's quick set, whether it's deeper drop. Tell me how your eyes read the guard and set up your move.
It really depends. Like I'll watch film like the week leading up to it to seeing like, okay, on 2nd and 10, he likes a quick set. On 1st and 10, he'll set deep on pass. So that'll be the main things I look at. But during the play, like if you know it's pass, you can kind of get a read on like their hand. Like it'll say they're leaning forward more. You know they're gonna probably jump set or vertical. Well, not vertical set, but jump set or try to kind of not vertical set, but lateral set to cut you off, to cut out the gap. On pass, you see them leaning back hard. You know they're probably going vertical set, just try to keep back. And just reading that like necessarily before the snap can really help me out the most. Because if I get a more vertical set where they kick straight back, I can just go straight into power and just run, walking to the quarterback. A more like jump set type, you want to go inside. You really want to go inside now. But with some people, they'll jump set waiting for you to go inside and just try to collapse you down. So it just depends on like the guard itself. It's kind of like a thinking game, essentially. I feel like
okay, so all right. Let's talk about your favorite stunts. Which stunts do you love to run as opposed to some of those stunts that you're like, yeah, I do it, but it's not my favorite?
I'll say my favorite is probably a tech stunt because for me, it's a free sack if the guard picks up the end. As long as I can get my head behind the tackle, he literally can't block me. So, and the guard has to pick the end up. So, like I said, it was a free sack for me.
Do you prefer that one to the cuff, that long loop where both of them crash and you loop all the way around? So you rather just the knockout, which is the end coming and you going around, as opposed to the longer loop?
Yeah, I like just going straight if possible.
Okay. All right.
Right. Sure.
So you may be tasked when you get the opportunity to go next level to play in more of an odd front, where you're going to have some little different responsibilities. When you're in the even front, 1 and 3, you may be at a point where you're either going to be that nose head up, or you can even be, because you're in that size range where they like to use that heavy 5. Yep. You may be a 5 tech.
Yes, sir.
Where you got to do a lot more things on the outside. How comfortable you're going to feel going up against the guys that you may not have faced in college. You were facing a lot more guards. Now you're facing those big tackles.
That's fine with me. Throughout my sophomore to my senior year, I played almost every spot on the line. I play a little bit of 5, like on 3rd down packages, but like I said, I'm fine playing anywhere. I can pick it up easy. Like it's not the same technique, but it's similar enough for me to just relate to what I did at 3 technique. So it won't be an issue with it at all. If anything, I like it better. It's less of a chance of a double team.
All right, there you go.
All right. You got any final questions, guys?
My final couple of questions are your last destination, obviously. So you've gone sort of previously, you've gone up and up and up and up. And then some people would say that you went down. I would say you went across. But you made a decision to move on from Arkansas. That decision is probably multiple things. One is get a little closer to home again. I think that might have played a part in it. You said you were 8.5 hours away. You decided to go back to more like 2-ish, 1.5 to 2 hours, I guess, away.
About 1.5.
1.5, okay. And then what was it about, obviously, other than the physical location, what drew you back to Hattiesburg?
It was just Coach Hall and Coach Armstrong. They recruited me some out of high school, so I knew them. I knew they were both good guys. So it was kind of like coming back to 2 people I knew I could trust. With my bad experience in Arkansas, I just wanted to be like somewhere where I could trust people and not have to worry about like, do these people really care about me? Do these people really want the best for me in that situation like that? Because I knew if I got that, like my play would speak for itself. I wouldn't have to worry about that.
Yeah. So you felt like that was a better fit for you culturally and in terms of how they valued you as a player than before, where you last been?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And then, of course, I've got to ask, I guess, a third time. Tell me about the players that stood out to you, whether players you played against or played with once you got to Southern Miss.
Well, of course, the first person I gotta say is Frank Gore.
Mm.
Frank Gore Jr. Him. I'm trying to remember his name. Our receiver that played for us. His name on the tip of my tongue. I swear I'm remember when the interview over with, and I'm gonna be mad. But him, Swayze,
Jason Brownlee,
Bozeman.
maybe? No, Brownlee was
Yeah, Jason Brownlee. Him.
Okay, it was Brownlee.
Probably. Yeah.
Him.
Don't feel bad. I have to get
Swayze.
names too. Trust me. They correct me every week.
But him.
Any
and
offensive
Swayze.
linemen stand out to you, either that you met up in a game or in practice?
In practice, I say Jerquan Scott. He's at Ole Miss now, but he was definitely gonna be a good NFL guard. I'm trying to think.
Gotcha. Yep.
And more I can think of. I can't think of any off the top of my head, but he's the main one that I think of when I think of good line.
Fine. And when is your pro day?
March 25th.
25th, yeah.
So you've got some time. Other than getting to about 305 pounds, do you have any other goals you've set up for your pro day?
Running the fast 40. That's the main goal right now.
Okay. It's a good goal to have.
Everything else-
It's a good goal to have.
What other sport did you play in high school? Just football?
I ain't gonna lie, I played a little bit of everything in high school. I played basketball, but I wasn't good at basketball. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I did track. I did baseball for one season. But like it just wasn't for me, especially because I was doing track also. So I pretty much played every sport that my school had.
Well, there you go.
Shot put and discus?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
thought so. Yeah, that's right. Which one did you like better out of those two, shot put or discus?
I kind of like shot put. Discus had too much technique for me. I just wanted to be able to throw.
What was your PR in shot put, your personal record?
I ain't gonna lie to you. It's been so long, I don't even remember. I forgot I did it until you brought it up.
Now I'm a lot older than you, but I still remember my personal record in the 800. I'll go to my deathbed remembering that 159.3 was my PR in the 800 meters. But I trust me, I understand you have a lot going on in your life, and it can't, won't always float to the surface of your brain. So yes, I am looking forward to finding out about your results and obviously the actual factuals. We'd love to reach out to you, obviously, once you get your pro day results. And then last but not least, we will be circling back to bother you again when your name gets called, either during the draft or during what I call the 8th round, the undrafted free agent signing period. In one of those two times, you will definitely hear your name called.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it. Y'all can call me.
I have one final question. I forgot about it. When scouts come to you and say, I want to make sure I find the game that will let me know who you were as a player. What game do you want someone to watch to understand exactly who Jalen Williams was as a player?
Georgia State, my sophomore year, it was 2022. I had 10 tackles in the sack. It really was a sack fumble, but the ball went out of bounds. So, like, they didn't see it come out, but I promise you that ball came out. It was a sack fumble. I watched it on film.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That'll do it. 10 tackles from the interior is extraordinary. That's a season for some guys who play on the interior. So that's a good game to choose.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Well, Jalen, we'd like to thank you for joining us tonight. It's been a pleasure talking to you. You're in the middle of a process that not many get to partake in, so enjoy every minute of it. And we're going to see where this goes with you. We're going to be watching.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it.
Okay. Well, give Chris my regards. Glad we were able to get you on. So keep working hard. We'll be watching for your pro day and see what the results are.
Yes, I got you. Appreciate y'all.
Hey, you take care,
Appreciate
Jalen.
you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks again,
Yes,
Jalen
sir, y'all.
Williams, defensive tackle, Southern Miss.
Yes, sir.
All right, everybody, we'll be right back. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back with more Draft Central right after this. Draft Central is looking for an official sponsor. As the official sponsor of Draft Central, you get product placement in every episode, commercial advertising, and your logo on all Draft Central merch. Contact us at info@TeamMBS Media for more information.
Streetwear is not dead. The next wave of black fashion comes out of the Bronx, New York. Rich Kid Clothing, picking up where FUBU, Rockaware, and Kyle Kanai left off. Rich Kid is for the next generation of Get Fly fashion heads. Use promo code MELLOW23 for 15% off your next order. And for orders over $100, there is free shipping. Again, use promo code MELLOW23 for 15% off your next order.
In 2006, we founded Yeti Coolers with a simple mission: build the cooler we use every day if it existed. One that was built for the serious outdoor enthusiasts rather than for mass discount retailers. One that could take the abuse we knew we'd put it through, out in the field and on the water. One that simply wouldn't break. We decided early on that production innovation would come from necessity and first-hand experience, not from market research and data analysis. Today, Yeti products perform when it matters most. Whether that be an excursion into the remote Alaskan wilderness, chasing redfish on the Gold Coast, or just getting together with friends in the backyard, we make gear that helps you stay out longer, travel farther, and live harder. # built for the wild.
And we are back here on Team MBS Draft Central. I'd like to thank Jalen Williams and, of course, his agent, Chris Quattrocci, for making this interview possible. Moving on, guys. We got to slide to the opposite side of the ball. We talked the interior D-line, the D tackles. We had a young man on the show. Now we got to talk about the guys that block those guys, the guards. The unsung hero, as we were saying, if they had better guards, maybe Kansas City would have been more productive on Sunday. But they did not have better guards. So we saw the result. So, nevertheless, Bill.
Yes, sir.
We did unveil your top 5 for you, DTs, but you're going to get to unveil your guards right about now.
And one of the things that, of course, will happen is that some of these guys will end up playing center and or guard at various points of their career. Some people may have them slated. I'm slating them based on guys that I think are better at guard, though they may end up playing center either way. Tyler Booker is very talented, but I think he's a little bit raw in terms of technique. Some people have him higher. He might end up higher when it's all said and done. Once again, we'll see what happens during the rest of the pre-draft process. I was a big fan of Jackson Slater, probably higher than most. I discovered him while watching Cam Skediba when he was back at Sacramento State, and I was saying, who is this guy who consistently keeps opening up these absolute crevasses for him? And I was like, oh, Jackson Slater. So I was thrilled when I got a chance to talk to him in person at the Senior Bowl. He's a terrific young man. He clearly loves football, comes from an athletic family. Both of his parents were athletes. Then Dylan Fairchild is, your classic mauler, your classic manster, right? Half man, half monster. Another guy who could probably use a little bit of coaching up in terms of some of the fine points, but just so powerful and so classically mean-spirited that I don't think at the very worst, you're getting a terrific run blocker who will eventually, I think, develop into a pretty good pass blocker as well. Gray Zabel blew my mind at how good he was, rep after rep after rep at the Senior Bowl. And once again, I knew a lot about him. He played tackle at NDSU, but because of his height and length, he's going to kick inside. But just fantastically at right guard. Like, if we just had right guard rankings, he might be my top-rated right guard. He can play center, he can play left guard, but as a right guard, I don't know if there's a better right guard in the country. And then the person with the best blend of athletic traits and technique is probably Tate Ratledge. And once again, has the position flexibility. Could probably even play right tackle in a pinch, though I wouldn't love that, but could do it. But is better suited on the inside, can play any of the inside positions. But once again, I think Tate Ratledge would be, if I had left guard rankings that were separated out, I think Tate Ratledge might be my top-rated left guard. Could play either side, but I think he's best suited to play left guard. And those are my tackles.
Those are your guards.
That's what I meant. Those are my guards.
Yes, yes.
So I'm going to throw mine up. Greg started off the first segment, so I'll let him go. I'll let him come out the bullpen on this one. All right, Greg, is that fair?
That's good. That's good with me. Yeah.
Way to go, Gunny. Love you. All right, so here we go. All right. So I said it last week. Didn't I say that, the guy that people thought was going to be in my top 5 tackles is going to be in my guards? Well, there he is at the top of my guard board in Kelvin Banks Jr. I'm drinking the Kool-Aid that some of these scouts are saying about him going inside at the next level. So I drank the Kool-Aid. He's in my number 1 guard. Donovan Jackson is number 2 for me. A little more consistent to some of the other guys. I like Tate Rutledge a lot. I saw some inconsistencies with him in certain games, especially look at the Georgia Tech game. Wasn't the most consistent game for him. The Bama game wasn't the most consistent game for him. There were certain games I really liked him a lot, and certain games I was like, okay, I'm starting to see certain things about him. I think overall, though, he projects highly at the next level. Same thing with Tyler Booker, a guy I think projects highly at the next level. And then, of course, yes, I have Gray Zabel in mind as well. He's at 5, though. Not as high, but he's at 5. So he's in my top 5. I think he's going to be a fine guard. Once he settles in at guard, I think he's still got a lot of room to grow at the position. Yep. I think, being outside, has helped him. It's going to help him at the next level. But I think overall, we saw it in the Senior Bowl. He killed it all week in practice, had some struggles at times in the game. That's going to happen as you acclimate to another position. Kicking inside is not as easy as everybody thinks it is. The bodies are on you a lot faster than they are at tackle. So that's one of the things that's an adjustment.
And they're bigger.
Bigger bodies that get on you a lot faster.
Yes.
And they're not trying to run around you 90% of the time.
No.
All right. So, Greg, you're up.
All right. So I've got Booker as my top guard at this point. Again, he does have work that he needs to work on. However, his ceiling is very, very high. So he gets the number 1 nod. Donovan Jackson, in a lot of mock drafts out there, is still listed as the tackle because he went out there and played tackle because of Josh Simmons' injury.
Right.
This guy is a guard. However, if you need a standby left tackle, this guy proved that he could do the job. Yes, he had a hard time against Abdul Carter his first game, but after that, he was so solid, it wasn't even funny. Rutledge is my number 3. Zabel's number 4, and Fairchild is my 5th. Fairchild, I agree with you, Bill. He's the guy that he could take me down any alley again because that man plays a mean right guard. He is mean. Yeah. He's got a nastiness to him.
Yeah, he's got a streak. Yeah.
Which of course goes back to my Tevin Jenkins love. That unfortunately that man's just been so injured it's not even funny. Zabel could also end up being a center. I've heard of 6 teams that are going to look at him as a center possibly.
Yeah.
So
one or two of the guys we've talked about may end up playing center.
Yeah.
Which is why when we talked about centers that first show, we said just because they're top 5 here doesn't mean they're going to be top 5 there. There are a lot of guys that are going to end up getting moved around. Gray Zabel's one of those guys. You're right. There's on different boards at different spots. And
some teams that think Donovan Jackson is a right tackle. There's some teams think Donovan Jackson is a guard, and some teams even think he can play left tackle.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And we like I said, I have Banks at the top of my board at guard. There's still teams that still have him at tackle.
Yep.
Okay. So we'll find out when all said is done, the draft weekend, what they really think of him when it's time to call it. And send that card in. So I think that's where we are evaluating them. We see, but sometimes teams change the rules, right? They don't.
Right.
They don't like this the arm length. They don't like the arm length, but they keep them at tackle. But when you only think they're going to kick him inside, or he's got all the measurables to be a great tackle, but they like him at guard because they feel he can go inside and anchor their offensive line. They feel they're fine at tackle, but he'd be a great addition and upgrade at the guard position for them. Right. So there are teams that do things like that. And while you may look at it and go, oh, yeah, his tape, his ceiling is going to be, I think he's better at this position, they may have a different plan for him. So Dylan Fairchild makes the list for Greg. All right. We got guys that didn't make the list. Let's get into those guys. So with that being said, we're going to go over to the offensive line and the interior offensive line. And we're going to talk about guys like Anthony Belton, NC State.
Well, there's a couple of things I like about him. And once again, this guy could end up playing a couple of different spots. We just watched Joe Tooney in the Super Bowl, a guard by trade playing tackle.
Yes.
Guys who have proven definitively they can play multiple positions make themselves automatically more valuable. I mean, that's not really a revelation. That is a pretty obvious thing to say, Bill, but it's true. If you can prove to people that you definitely can play multiple positions, you can be a swing tackle. And if you also can be a second string guard and you can fill in at both tackle spots, you'll have a job in the NFL for 8 years. Even if you only play a handful of games, the fact that you have that flexibility, if you can play center and both guard positions at a high level, you'll have a job somewhere in the NFL for 5 to 7 years, even if you hardly play. Just the fact you can do those things at a high level, you can handle the mental load of playing center, and you have the physical ability to manhandle human beings the way you have to play guard, you'll have a job somewhere. So those are things that I like about him. I'm going to mention a guy who could end up playing a couple of different spots. Obviously, people are very familiar with his brother, Trevor Penning. Jared Penning's going to end up somewhere. He might end up playing right tackle. He might end up playing guard.
Yes.
But somebody's going to put him somewhere for him to, once again, he doesn't do it as spectacularly or as wrestling heelishly as his brother, but he definitely gets it done. Like, he moves people against their will into places they don't want to go and does it
absolutely. Well. Absolutely. Got to see him up close and personal at the Hula Bowl. And he is definitely a guy I like at guard. I saw him working at tackle. I saw him working at guard there. Yep. But I like him at guard a lot more. When we're talking about Belton, watching his film, it screams big body guard. Okay. You talk about, almost 360 pounds a man. Okay. It screams big body guard to me. That's a bigger version of Ron Leary in my eyes. Okay. I see that guy that huge body that can move people inside. I think that's, hopefully he doesn't have a degenerative knee like Ron Leary did, but nevertheless, I see that kind of body type, that thick, big body guard.
Joshua Gray from Oregon State caught my eye. That's a guy that I think is a fair amount of ceiling. He's already pretty good, but I think that he could keep getting better. The offense he was in didn't let him show off some of the things I think he could do anymore. I don't know, conventional. An offense where he was allowed to get out on the move more and just smack people around. A lot of these guys are in offenses where they don't do a lot of traditional power stuff. And when he got a chance in some of the All-Star games to show he could do that stuff, I was like, okay, all right, I see you, right? And that I get excited when I see somebody. We talked about a person with the last name Connolly previously. Well, Jack Conley from Boston College is another guy that has, and he was in a sort of run-heavy offense, so you knew he could run block. They didn't throw the ball super often or super well at Boston College this last year, so he didn't do as much in the passing game, but you got a chance, once again, the All-Star games to see him in some more conventional 3-5-7 type stuff, which was not a big thing at Boston College, but you could see that he could hold up in protection in those settings. That was something that I thought was good.
DJ Campbell, who actually was an offensive guard at Texas. He's not Kelvin Banks or Cameron Williams, the two guys we've heard about all year long. And Kelvin Banks has not played guard yet, so that's why he's not on my list. Bottom line. But DJ Campbell, he's 6'3", 343. He was a 5-star blue chip recruit across the board, so he was definitely a nasty piece of business in high school. But he's got the mauler in the run game. He consistently created vertical displacement, driving defenders right off their spot. He's scheme versatile. He shows proficiency in both the gap and zone concepts, so that helps him with the NFL system. He's got the Iron Man ability. He started every year as a sophomore with a clean injury slate and all this other jazz. So he's definitely somebody who can make a difference in the NFL as well.
A D3 player with a legitimate shot at being drafted, which I don't think there'll be many of them, but one who does have a shot is Thomas Perry from Middlebury.
Yep.
First of all, he has the body. It's not a D3 body. I mean, you look at him, there's not a conference in the world where that guy would not be able to get on the field and play. He's well over 300 pounds. I think he came in at 6'2 3/4 or something. So enough length to play as a interior offensive lineman. And he's got, once again, a little bit of nasty, a little bit of part of it's because he wanted to show people he belongs, when he got to the Shrine game, and he showed people he belongs. He's one of the better D3 linemen, and one of the better D2 linemen, same game, was Gareth Warren from Lindenwood. That's another guy who further along as a run blocker than as a pass blocker, but still you could see it. You could see enough when you watched him pass block. You could say, okay, this guy's going to be able to do it. He'll be able to make the transition. And once again, not a lock. No D2 player is ever a lock to be drafted, but I have a mid to late day 3 grade on him. He's a guy that I would take around pick 202 or something like that and feel pretty good about it, because I think he has a chance to be at the very least a high valued backup at multiple positions, and even one day turn into a guard who starts. And once again, a big body. I mean, size is not an issue for Gareth Warren. He is a large human being.
So let's talk about a guy who a lot of people aren't talking about. You look at him, he's played tackle, but body type says guard. And I'm talking about Anthony Session, TJ, as he goes by, from Cal.
Yeah.
Now we're going to have him on the show next month, so you'll get a chance to talk to him directly. But spoiler alert. So nevertheless, we talk about it. Here's another guy. We talk about athletic, has the size, but really translates inside because he's not going to have the length that they like at the tackle position. Reminds me of Chuma Edoga a lot. A guy that doesn't have that outside tackle size, but has some of that ability. But he's going to be inside, and I think he's going to have to be more wily than strong to compete inside. Guys going to have to understand his angles and as far as setting up his blocks and being able to wall off defenders. Not going to be a guy that's going to be elite moving people one-on-one. He's going to be more of a combo blocker. So zone type scheme lineman. But overall, I like what I saw on film. He's definitely a guy, though, they're probably going to wind up kicking inside as opposed to keeping him in a tackle. So we'll be talking to him, like I said, later on the show. Not tonight, next month. So any other guys while we're talking the gods?
Yes. I mean, I think it's one of the deepest groups. So, yes, there are others who I think have a chance to be somewhere between very good and flat out special. So, yes, I feel like this is one of the better classes we've seen recently amongst the guards. When I think about, and once again, as you said before, some of the people that we will be talking about the position are guys that, they don't know that they're guards yet. But, sometimes they won't know until they get in camp, right? That's how sometimes how you find out you're a guard is, you take a couple of reps at tackle, and then it turns out that okay. But I feel like even in the Ivy League, right? And Ivy League football doesn't get a huge amount of respect because, well, it's Ivy League football, and who watches Ivy League football? Who cares? Blah blah blah. But there's a couple of Ivy League offensive linemen, I believe, probably not drafted. Well, we'll see. I'd love to see them get drafted, but more likely than not, they're going to end up being undrafted free agents, which is, but when it's all said and done, you just need to get into the camp. That's really comes down just getting in camp. But I think that once they get there, once these guys get into camp, they're going to prove to some people, show some people that, well, they belong. They belong at least getting some love and attention. And getting a chance. That's all you can ask for is a chance. So that's what I was sort of thinking of, some of those guys. There's one at Dartmouth, I believe. Oh my gosh, come on, Bill. That I spotted during the season. I should have written this down. That I remember circling and saying, and I think he was a senior. I remember thinking, oh yeah, this guy has a chance. And I just need his name to come back to me, which hopefully will. Talk amongst yourselves. But and there was one at Columbia. And I think the one at Columbia is playing tackle. He's like 6'3". So he's, once again, a guy that's probably getting kicked inside to guard. They'll come back to me, I think.
All right. I got another name for you while you're trying to remember that one.
Yes, do that.
Levi Rogers, Stanford.
Oh, there you go. That'll work.
The school we haven't mentioned a lot recently. They used to put out linemen and a bunch of other things. Haven't mentioned a Stanford lineman in a while.
True.
Since
David Shaw shuffled off not his mortal coil. He's still very much alive, but off of that particular campus.
Yeah. So I was surprised to see him in person, and I must admit he left a bit of an impression on me. I don't rank him near my top 10, but he's a guy that it intrigues me a little when I look at him, when I look at his film. I think overall he has some challenges. One of the main challenges is weight. He's a little light, 305. Right? But, you're going to have to hold up a little bit better. You see the Jalen Carters of the world and all those guys inside. Those guys are 325 and moving with a 4.0 engine. But so, 305 is a little light for a guard at the NFL level. So I think he's going to have to put some rocks in his pants. But overall, there's some technique I like about him. He has the ability to anchor. Does a lot of good things there. But overall, I think he's a guy you look at guard and go, he's a guy you bring in and have a plan for. You're going to develop this guy into something a bit more, whether it's going to be a career backup, your swing guard center, or you can actually have him develop and compete after a couple of years. So he's a guy who may never be a Pro Bowler, but he could be a guy that sticks around the NFL for quite a while. And we've said that about guys before. Remember Brett Toth was coming out of Army. We go, ooh, big body, very lean, right? Well, it was nice to see him get in the ring on Sunday night. The guy that people were saying, could he develop into something? He developed into something in Philadelphia, all right? So sometimes we mention names of people, we talk about development, doesn't mean that they're just going to be a guy you bring in and put on a practice squad and he's going in a year or two. Some of these guys stick around and make a difference on some of these teams. Yeah. So make sure you're paying attention to some of the names.
I've got another guy who was a Division II player, Gabe Brown, Grand Valley State Lakers.
There you go.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, wow. 6'3", 325, and this man has a mean streak. He plays mean, which is something that we look for in a guard. He may be a Division II player, but I think he gets a UDFA call from somebody at least.
Agreed.
At least.
Well,
Yeah.
you went Grand Valley
Agreed.
State.
Yep.
You went near and dear to my heart because you went SWAC on me. So, but
Bay
Grand
City,
Valley
Bay City, Michigan is
there's
where
a GLIAC,
Grand Valley
my friend.
State is.
That's
I'm
the
sorry, you're right. MEAC. I'm
Great
sorry.
Lakes Intercollegiate
yes,
Athletic
yeah,
Conference.
yeah.
That's the GLIAC.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. GLIAC.
Yes. I'm sorry. You know what it is? I always mix it with when I hear Valley State.
Yeah.
I knew what you meant, though.
Yeah.
A guy to watch out for next year is Tommy Matheson, who was a grad transfer from Princeton to Boston College, but he's decided to play one more year. So we'll be seeing
That's
him
right.
next year.
But there is a SWAC guy.
There is a
I'm
SWAC.
going-
You're right.
Oh yeah. There's always one, right? Let's pull up my notes so I can remember the names because you know me and names don't go. But nevertheless, I got them somewhere. All right, so it'll come to me. Well, you have somebody else in the meantime. I don't want to make anybody wait for me.
Okay, hold on. I've got a couple of guys. Yeah, here we go.
This is what happens when you're on the road all season. You put notes down and you realize they all clumped together.
Hold on.
That's the one. So I'll tell you, I always have my notes somewhere, right? All right. So I'm going to give you one, Cameron Smith from Alabama State. Shout out to the other Eddie Robinson, Coach Robinson, the other Eddie Robinson, not
Right, the
my
other
Eddie
Robinson, yeah.
Robinson. All right. I happened to see him in person. They came down to Florida to take on Bethune-Cookman, and they were playing. Alabama State was playing with their third-string quarterback, and they wind up beating Bethune-Cookman because they figured out, well, if we run to the right side, we run behind this big lineman, Cameron Smith, and that's exactly what they did. Ran behind him the whole day long. And he just paved the way for all of their runners to go big. So he's a project, a guy that played some tackle. They kicked him inside the guard. Big boy, too, 350. But he moves. All right. So I think overall, when you look at him, he's a guy you talk about bringing in, having a plan to develop him, let him compete, and eventually take on somebody for a job. That's the kind of guy you do it. You might see it. I haven't seen a roster. Bill, have you seen a roster for the HBCU Legacy Bowl?
I have seen one. I can't remember if he's on it, though.
I'll be intrigued to see if he's on it.
He should be. He should be.
Yeah, he should be.
Yeah.
Some guys that I saw at the Senior Bowl we haven't talked about. Marcus Lowe from Purdue had a solid week. Bounced around a little bit the first day. And once again, they played him a couple of different spots. But I think his future is guard, and his future and his present are probably guard. There was a bunch of LSU offensive linemen. Garrett Dillinger played some tackle also, but I think his future is guard. He looked pretty good. And Miles Frazier. At times I had to sort of look up to make sure I was looking at the right guy, because they're very physically similar. And when they both had their helmets on, you very difficult to tell the two apart. But both of those guys, I think, are going to play at the NFL level at guard. And Javonte Spraggins is another guy that I think is going to have a solid career as an NFL guard. He looks good. Clay Webb was mentioned earlier today. I agree. Clay Webb is going to play in the NFL from Jacksonville State. I think he's going to be a backup for a year or two and then work his way into somebody's starting rotation. Hunter Zambrano, since Illinois State's name came up earlier, he's a guy that played tackle in college, but he's most likely going to be kicked inside. He's probably going to come in at about 6'4" or something. I mean, he's listed at 6'5". He's probably a little less than that, but maybe some team will think he can stay outside at tackle, but my guess is he's going to probably be kicked inside. And he had a great career at Illinois State. I had a chance to see him in person a couple of times.
Indeed. So, last 10 minutes, we're going to put a nice bow on things. Just to mention, next week we are back with tight ends, outside linebackers. Our guest next week will be UMass tight end Jalen Lay, big tight end. So,
he is a big boy.
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
Yes, he is. I got to see him in person. I thought it was Derrick Henry's cloned older brother. So he was huge.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So yes, he will be our guest next week. Last couple of guys, and then we'll start to wrap this up and move forward as we're rapidly closing in on the combine in a few weeks.
Yep.
2 weeks away.
Yes.
Wow. Crazy how quickly that's happening.
It gets faster every year, Bill. We that's just us aging. Everything goes faster as we get older.
Huh.
The
That's
NFL
right.
Network needs its new content, so there we have the combine coming. That's it. It's
As long as they never leave Indy, I think that'll be the biggest mistake they make if they start treating it like the draft and bouncing it around the country.
No, I'm with you on that. They should keep it in India.
It fits the environment. Okay. Yeah. Everything being in Indy, everything is right there. Okay. You're not going 50 different places for different things. Everything is right.
JJ Lippy from Northern Illinois. As I'm sure Greg remembers, he had a really good game against a good defensive line.
Yeah.
And I think Notre Dame was whole in terms of their defensive line for that game. I think they had all their players for that game available, right? At least on the D line.
Yeah.
So he faced Notre Dame at full strength and had a fantastic game. Numerically, to me, he had about an 88 game out of a possible 100, playing quote unquote up, in terms of competition. So that was a great game for him. I have a solid.
He had a couple of mid grades, however. So
yeah. But still, we're talking about a guy that's going to go somewhere probably middle of day 3, but has a chance to hang around the league for a good little while as a guard.
Yeah, I've got him listed in the 6th round. So
yep, that sounds about right. 5th or 6th.
Yeah.
Braden Swartout, Central Michigan.
There we go. Braden Swartout, Michigan. Yes. He had a nice year.
Yes, he did. Also, it looked pretty solid out in Orlando at the Hula Bowl. Another guy I got to see at Hula Bowl. See, that's why I keep all my notes. I forget the names, but the notes never lie. As long as you got them marked down, they're right there. Michael Tarkin from Oklahoma.
Okay, yeah.
Another guy. It's been a while since no, not really. Greg got an Oklahoma guy in the 1st round last year.
That's right.
So
it was a really great pick. But okay, never mind. Let's carry on.
we don't. But now that Lincoln Riley's out west, you're not hearing about the linemen as prominent.
No, exactly.
But I think he's a guy you're going to see. You're going to hear his name called. Probably be day 3, late day 3. But I think he gets his name called. Here's an old name for you, D'Artagnan Tinsley, Cincinnati.
First of all, it's a fantastic name.
Yeah. I didn't say it the natural way, right? D'Artagnan. D'Artagnan Tinsley.
D'Artagnan.
Yes.
En français, monsieur.
Yes. Well,
I'll look at it.
Mr. Dumas would be disappointed in me if I didn't say it the right way, right? So, but yes, a couple of Cincinnati linemen, right? We got D'Artagnan Tinsley and Luke Kandra.
Yes. Yep.
So, question is going to be, which ones fit, right?
Yep.
Let me see. I have measurements on these guys somewhere.
I'll give another Seminole a little shout out here as well. TJ Ferguson. He's gonna be a high upside prospect.
Yes.
But the young man has definitely got the size because he's 6'4", 330 pounds. He's got the potential to be another guy that comes in and gets a practice squad spot and then maybe competes.
Yes, he does.
So D'Artagnan Tinsley, 6'3", 336. Now, when you hear that, you go, okay, he's not the longest player. But then you get to the things that the NFL guys love, right? So height they can get away with, right? Listen to the hand size, the arm size, and the wingspan. Hand size, 11 1/4. Some huge hands. 34 1/4 on arms.
Yeah.
So arm length fits tackle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. 84 1/2 on the wingspan.
Oh boy, that's it.
So he's quite long in the areas where they like him. So he may be a guy they may look at guard, but play at right tackle too. Don't be surprised if somebody puts him out there at right tackle with that arm length. Right? They will do it. The wingspan, they love those long arms on the outside. All right. So don't be surprised if somebody does play him out there.
And one of my Ivy League guys was Jack Conley from Brown.
Yes.
Wrestling background from high school. Didn't wrestle in college, but wrestled in high school. You can see it when you watch him move around, when you watch him play. You can see the wrestling background. And balance, power, decent quickness. Not a freak athlete, but athletic enough. And, obviously he has options for life, having a Brown degree. But if he decides he wants to keep playing football, I think he has a chance to stick in a camp.
Right. And why did I mention Michael Tarkin at guard? 6'0", 5'1". So you go, okay, well, he can be a tackle. Then you slide over to the stuff they really, really look for. All right. 9 7/8 on the hands. It's not the biggest hands. I got 10-inch hands myself. All right. 32 3/4 on the arm length. So short on the arm length. All right. 79 5/8 on the wingspan. So not as long in the arms where they like on the outside, more suited to the inside. Okay. So that's probably why when you look at those two players, one will probably be tested a little bit outside, one won't.
Yeah.
And another Ivy League guy I really like, but he's grad transfer as well. So shout out to UMass and Memphis, who scooped up all but one of this most recent year's all Ivy offensive linemen have ended up grad transferring. Amongst the ones who were able to grad transfer, most guys who were seniors have landed somewhere. So watch out for Kyle Brown, who is now going to be suiting up for UMass. So joins another. So there's two all Ivy guys, who ended up at UMass, and then one who ended up in Memphis amongst the senior all-Ivy offensive linemen. So only one of their senior offensive linemen is in the draft. The other senior offensive linemen who are all-Ivy this past season have grad transferred to take advantage of that extra year of eligibility.
Okay. So
yes, Julio, you're correct. Because this is this year's draft, which is going to be a very different draft from other seasons that we've seen. I just don't want people to misunderstand that we don't have that many first round grades on players this year. These guys are still good players, but it's because of the way that the college system game is now running. You cannot put a guy into a first round bracket as easily as you could before.
Right.
That is the biggest difference for me, anyway.
Right. Agreed.
So Colorado players get a lot of attention. None of us have mentioned Justin Mayers. We're talking guards.
Right.
None of us has mentioned Justin Mayers.
True. He's got a shot. He's another guy that will probably need to show he can play multiple positions, but I think has a chance to hang around.
I mean, and he's a big body guy, right?
Yep.
6'0", 326, right? Right. So you look at the wingspan, 80-inch wingspan. You go, okay, it's pretty long, but the arm length ain't there, 33 on the arms. So not the longest arms, but a huge wingspan, which means he got the broad shoulders, right? But this is why all of these things matter when we talk about measurements, because it's body type. It tells you body type. So if you're looking for long arm guys, you hit his huge wingspan, you go, okay, he's got to have really long arms, 33 inches. Okay, well, that means that the shoulders are wide, right? I mean, it's a bigger body guy, thick body, right? So 9.5 inch on the hands too. So I think part of what I see with him is he's a guy, when you look at the film, it doesn't tell you a lot about the player. Colorado, a lot of wide runs. Colorado, a lot of passing. Doesn't highlight your guards very much, right? So, so he's not going to get that buzz because he's in a position in that system. It'll highlight the receivers. It'll highlight the quarterback. Doesn't highlight your guards very well in Colorado, right? So he's got to do a lot of work to get the attention he needs to stick around at camp. So it's not that we don't like the player. When you look at the film, you got to look at the player, and the film doesn't highlight any of his strengths. It highlights what they do. So these are hard evaluation because it's one of those things. So how great is he at moving guys off the point? Well, kind of hard to tell when you're running wide, right? So it's more of a, when you're running wide, it's more of a seal than it is a moving the guy.
Right.
Okay. So you may get a great idea of how he blocks in space, which is an evaluation, but you're not going to get how's he moving at 3-tech? Well, you don't know because he's going outside of the 3-tech. So he's really walling or reaching and walling off. So, offenses can hide certain players' strengths. Now, he may go into a camp and look pretty decent, but you need to get him in a camp first. So that's the hard part about it.
Right. There are some systems that guards almost never pull, which seems criminal almost to me, but there are some systems where they just don't really pull. There's some places where guys are almost never asked to block singly. Some guys are always helping or getting help.
Yeah.
So it's difficult to evaluate certain things because guys never do them. It's like wide receivers who play for Baylor, right? For a long time, we had no idea what they looked like running certain routes because they ran 4 routes or whatever. So we were guessing at how they would look doing certain things.
All right. So we got through 2 positions. We had a great guest tonight. Next week, tight ends, outside linebackers. Any spoilers for you guys next week?
No, I'm not gonna give up. I'm not gonna give up anybody until the show airs. No, there's no giving up. No. Oh, okay. There's a guy that played at Notre Dame who would be a decent tight end in the league. Okay, because Mitchell Evans will be a decent tight end. There you go. Is he going to be in my top 5? However, we'll see.
There you go. That's what's called a tease in this business, kids.
Yes,
Well done, Greg.
that's good TV. That's good TV.
That's exactly right.
Well, it's time to put a wrap on it. Time to wrap this up. So, for Bill Carroll, for Greg Rector, for myself, Jeff Barnes, thank you, Jalen Williams, for joining the show. D-tackle from Southern Miss. We'll be back next week, same time, same channel here on Team MBS Media, 9:15. Greg, you have a show this week?
Yes, I do. Saturday night, 10 p.m. Eastern, the final word. I'm not too sure what my topic is going to be this week, but we'll figure it out.
All right. What about you, Bill, before we go?
I'm working on my story about the future of the Kansas City Chiefs, which hopefully will drop in the next day or two. And then I'm going to start doing 32 mock drafts in 32 days on the Team MBS Media because I'm insane. But now that the draft order is solidified and, the combine's closing in, which is sort of the, I guess I call it the first round of the playoffs for, for draft season. We're getting to the end of the regular season for draft season with the All-Star games wrapping up. And then I consider the combine, the playoffs. And then, the next round of the playoffs is the Super Bowl. Is the pro days. And then the draft itself is the Super Bowl.
Absolutely. Well, for those that love the mock draft junkies that love to watch the show, March 12th will be our first mocks of the season. March 12th, mark your calendars. That will be our first mocks of the season. Until then.
And there will not be any trades in the first mock that we do.
No. There won't be any trades. It'll be straight up. Up. We'll get to the trade as we progress.
Exactly.
All right. So, yes, March 12th will be the first show with the mocks. But until then, we're back next week once again with more Team MBS Draft Central. For Bill, for Greg, and myself, once again, thanks again for Jalen joining the show. Have a great night. We'll see y'all next week.